So, on behalf of COTRUGLI Business School, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you on this very special occasion. As Lana said, we have two batches which is graduating. We have the International MBA and the Executive MBA group. So my first duty and privilege, obviously, is to congratulate all these students who are graduating today. And, you know, it's a hard task for them because in spite of the challenges they were supposed to face over the last 2 years, they managed to go through these challenges. They did an excellent job, and I can say that because I taught a course to them in finance, and during my course, I was very impressed by both the groups because whenever I used to give them some work, and I used to say, well, you have time to do it, they used to stay till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. I should say, go back, take rest. But they were not ready. You know, they were so involved in their learning process, which really shows that they have a drive, they have the initiative. And I think it's very nice for the region that you have such young people who I'm sure will contribute to the development of this region. And I'm also very glad to be here in Belgrade, which is a beautiful city. Every time I come here, it's with pleasure I come, and I see the people. They are so friendly, they are so nice, that it gives me all the more courage about the school's future. Now, firstly, I will also like to congratulate the family members of the students who are graduating, because I think without their support, it would not have been possible. Because these are programs which are very intensive, which requires work. You know, they have to do their job, they have their families, and then they have their studies to do, and a lot of homework to do, a lot of group work to do. And unless the family supports them, I think it would not have been possible for them. So part of the credit, I think, goes to the family members, children, wife, parents, and all of them. Now, it's also, I would like today to thank the COTRUGLI team. I'm not going to name anybody in particular because I think each one of them contributed very, very significantly. I'm impressed because I've been involved with COTRUGLI for last about 8 years. So I saw the baby when it was more or less born. Then it slowly grew. Now it's a big boy, or a young man, or a young lady, I don't know, whatever you'd like to call it. But it has become, as you know, one of the top business schools in the region. And I move around in the circle of business schools around the world, and I've also tried to promote, and I also see that when they talk about the region, the COTRUGLI Business School comes first. So that's why I would like to thank all the team, without naming anybody, both whether it's in Belgrade or Zagreb or in Bulgaria. So they, I think, need a special thanks and a special bravo for an excellent job they did. Now, on this very occasion, because, as you know, I'm supposed to give some advice as the dean of the school. But I don't think that I'll give too many advices because you are now, you know what you have to do. But still, I would like to highlight 2 or 3 points which I think is important. And first of all, I would like to say that when you go for a career, Some of you are in jobs, some of you will be changing jobs, some of you will be looking for new jobs, because I presume after doing your MBA, the horizon widens for you and the region needs you. So my first advice, which might be a bit controversial, but all the same I'm going to say it, is that when you go for a job, you should prefer a job for the kind of job that you're going to do rather than the salary. You know, in other words, you should always give top priority in your job to what you're doing. Is it interesting to you or not, rather than the salary they're going to offer. And I'm saying this with experience because I have got some experience in this. So in other words, you know, you can compare with what is happening in the financial markets. So we can talk about a premium. Now in financial markets, as you know, we are undergoing some big changes. And what they talk about, our graduates will know it very well, we talk about risk premium. And the risk premium is when you ask an investor to invest in certain financial securities, the investor will look at the risk they take. And given the level of risk they take, they will ask for a premium on the return that they expect, what you call risk premium. And we are now living through it. Some sovereign bonds, as you know, or sovereign debts, the risk premium may be 15, 20%. And the impact of this is very clear, that these debts, the market value of these debts are very low. Now, why I'm comparing this? I'm comparing this for a very simple reason. In other words, you have a premium, how much premium you are prepared to pay to choose between salary and the quality of work. And I think the quality of work, the risk premium here, or the premium for quality work, or the interest of work, is much higher than the risk premium you will pay in the case of a financial market. And this is something I think very important for you, because when you take up a job, when you do a job, when you like the job, you will find that it is stressless, you enjoy it, you feel satisfied, and obviously you will do a much better job in it. You may not get as high salary, so you have to balance between, if you like, what is the extra salary that you're going to get compared to the extra satisfaction that you get from the job. So I'm not saying that good salary you will refuse. I'm saying it's an arbitrage that you have to do, and there, in arbitrage process, I think job satisfaction should be top priority. The second advice, which is more or less related, if you like, the second advice would be that in the case of when you take up a job, one of the essential things that you should look at is what contribution. You should ask yourself a very simple question: am I making any contribution to the society? You know, if the answer is no, then I think, that job is not worth doing. Now, it's a very difficult question. Again, I'm taking a parallel between finance, because I'm a professor of finance, unfortunately. Not everybody is perfect. So I'll take an example from finance. When you look at the financial markets, and what you find, there were certain jobs which were being done which had absolutely no utility to the society. In fact, their utility to the society was negative. Take a very simple example. One of the markets which has developed dramatically is what you call commodities market. And in commodities market, you have a futures market, where you buy and sell commodities without actually taking delivery, but you fix the price in advance. So you say, I'll buy 1,000 tons of wheat in June, and you fix the price with your counterparty. Now, obviously, you know, these people, when they fix the price, they are supposed to be useful for the society. But what happened, we noticed that one of the consequences of this commodities futures market was that we are going through a very, very high inflation now. And this inflation is not because there is a shortage of commodities. Inflation is there because the financial markets have pushed the price up by buying a lot of these futures commodity stocks. So my second advice, therefore, will be that please make sure that you are useful to the society. Now, here you will take an oath later on, and COTRUGLI has set a certain number of items in your oath, so this covers this. So we ensure that these items are covered. Then the next one is try to be ethical in your business decisions. I understand that for all of you, it is necessary to look at the bottom line. You know, if you're doing business, you have to ensure that the bottom line is positive. But at the same time, make sure that you're doing it ethically. I'm not going to define what do we mean by ethical, and, you know, because ethics, again, is something very controversial, and it can take a long time to define what we mean by ethical. But ethical essentially means that it is something which is not against the basic principles of what is right and what is wrong. Short run, you might find it doesn't pay, but in the long run, if you do business ethically, it will always pay. And all studies which have been done scientifically on ethics and business results, they all prove that on the long run, those entities, those individuals, those managers who do business in the right way, they always succeed, more than those who did not do the business ethically. So again, and another advice will be, which is very simple, and that's I learned by experience, is try to listen, because when you listen, you learn. When you talk, you don't learn. So, you know, because this is something I have noticed, that, you know, when you are a manager, you think I am a leader, so my job is to lead, and therefore tell people what they should do. They forget that by telling, they are ignoring something very important. And what is that important part is, they're not learning anything, and they commit mistakes. So have always time for listening. Because again, I'm citing an example. I was talking to a lady who did quite a bit of research on what they call, you know, cultural differences between managers in different parts of the world. And the results of this research was, she said that I found, she took several European countries and several other countries in the world. In European countries, she found that in Spain, a Spanish manager agenda is full for 2 weeks. So if you want to take a meeting with them, you have to inform them well in advance, 2 weeks in advance, otherwise you will not get a slot to see them or discuss with them. In France, it's 4 weeks. So now, what does this show? This shows something is fundamentally wrong to me. Because a manager's job is not to sit in a meeting which is pre-planned. A manager's job is to be a visionary, to see what changes are likely to take place. And therefore, they should always be open to listen to people whoever, whatever they have to say. And this is, I bring some, as you can see, I'm an Indian. So I'm bringing some experience. When I go to India, in France, I live in France, but I go to India very often. And I have a lot of friends who are senior managers. I know quite a few people who are high up in politics. When I go there, I don't take any meeting. I ring them up. And strangely enough, they always say, come along. So if they are there, they will say, come, and we meet. The only disadvantage is when I go there, I might find 2 or 3 other people are already there, so it's not one-to-one meeting, but they are always ready to receive you. They are not saying, they do not show their importance by saying how busy I am, by saying how big is their agenda. I think that's a wrong approach. You as manager should be ready to listen to what people say. And if you listen to what people say, you will find that you will learn a lot, and you will be a much better manager, because by listening, you will feel the pulse of this company which you work in. You will feel the pulse of the economy or the country where you're living in. And I think these are very important things. These are simple things, but these are fundamentally important for managers. Now, these are the only simple advice. You will take the oaths. Next thing that I would just like to highlight, I will not talk, because you can understand a professor, once you give them the mic, he or she doesn't know when to stop. So that's one of their major problems. So I will not take a very long time, because it's your day. I will simply like to say that there will be challenges in your life. And if there were no challenges, life will not be fun. I think that's something. And your generation, you are lucky that the challenges will be bigger, and therefore your job will be far more interesting. Why the challenges will be bigger? Because I think there are certain factors which are obvious. The rapid change in technology, it's changing very, very fast, and you have to keep up with it. And therefore, you have to anticipate what changes are likely to take place. And if you don't, obviously, you will miss the boat. So that's something, I think, big challenge. Then another big challenge for you will be, obviously, to changes which are taking place in the economy itself. As you know, the balance of power in the world is changing radically. And within the last 10 years, we have moved from one economy or 2 economies dominating the world to multiple economies now which are taking place. And I think this is something which is important, and this will have effect on your business for all of you, because that means the way the globalization will take place, the process of globalization is likely to change. Then you will have also the challenge of managing risks. And therefore, I think one of the topics which we need to now introduce maybe in our MBA programs is risk management. How do we evaluate risk? Because I was sitting in the board meeting of one of the big companies not long ago, and there was one full, topic on risk management of a company. And what are the different, so we have to evaluate what kind of risks that you take. And risk can be in many ways, It can be geographical risk can be political risk can be operational risk can be financial risks, all these kind of risks. And we have to therefore underline, we have to be ready to face them. So having said that, I would like to add that this very fact that you are living in a challenging world makes your task all the more interesting, and it's all the more interesting for the business school to take up the challenge so that they can, in their training program, introduce all this. And I'm sure our graduates who are here, looking very beautiful and handsome, all of them, they have taken the maximum out of the program, and they are ready to face the economic and political challenges ahead of them. So my last part of my job is obviously, once again, to congratulate you and wish you a very prosperous and successful future, and a happy future. Because success, again, is a relative term. Success is not only measured in monetary terms, success can be measured in many terms. And I wish you, most of all, a very, very happy future. So good luck to all of you, and I hope that I will have the occasion to meet some of you in the future. Thank you very much.